So yesterday, there was a little bit of an audio drop in quality. And the reason why was because the microphone stand that I have, the microphone was loose. So I tried to tighten it, but the plastic join on the adapter, which connects the two together, is really weak. And in tightening it up, it actually snapped off from the join. So I couldn't have the microphone on the stand yesterday. So I've ordered a temporary one, which has just arrived. This one here. This isn't the one that I want because with this, I can't get the pop filter to stay. So I've ordered the exact replacement, but that's going to be a few days' time. Now, that's not remotely interesting, but that's just for you nerds out there. Let's get on with the video as... Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Now in life, I try and be as honest as I possibly can. Not always, but I try to be as honest as I can. Some of you might argue a little bit too honest for my own good at times. But it's just an easier way to exist when you don't try and lie. When you lie, you've got to think who you lied to, what you said. You've got to correlate the stories with somebody else if you're discussing the same thing. And it can get very messy. And as I discovered in my youth, ultimately, it'll come back and bite you in the ass. I learned that actually from Judge Judy. So I just decide to try and be as honest as I can be. Now, that doesn't mean sometimes I don't tell a nice fib, you know, to somebody I care about to spare their feelings. I mean, obviously not anyone in these videos that I discuss, but, you know, somebody that I care about. And I think there's a difference between lying and holding back information. If you don't have to volunteer information, sure. But if somebody presses me on something, I will inevitably try and be as honest as I possibly can be. Not Todd Howard, though. Boy, it looks like that guy just can't stop lying. And this is really sad. And I'm trying to be as upbeat as I can be and try and make this video as entertaining as I can be. But he was recently part of a Bethesda panel at PAX East. And he was questioned about Fallout 76. And I thought this was the perfect opportunity for Todd to eat some humble pie. You know, try and get some credibility back. I was part of the In Todd We Trust brigade. I really was. And I wouldn't have a bad word to say about the guy at the beginning of February of last year. And here we are 4.5 months later, and his reputation's in tatters and Bethesda's reputation's in tatters. And it's really, really sad to see. It's not something I take any relish in at all. But this was the perfect time for Todd to address the issues of Fallout 76, the communication issues, all the controversies that have surrounded the game, and maybe take some responsibility for them. But he decided not to. He decided to come out with more lies. And it's just really, really hard to kind of like see, and it doesn't bode well for the future with other Bethesda titles. But I'll go into this article here. For us, Fallout 76 is a very, very new thing for our studio. We knew we were going to have a lot of bumps coming out with the game, and we definitely had some. Some of them much harder than we even anticipated. This was a very new and different project for us. We're still doing other things that are more traditional, as I would call them, Bethesda games. Okay, so he's at least identifying that there were issues, but we'll go into this further now. But this one, to be honest, we had a lot of difficulties during development, and sometimes those difficulties do show up on the screen. You never want them to. Okay. Well, if you're saying that the development process was really difficult, if you're saying that you had a lot of difficulties, why did you release the game? Why did you release the game? I mean, what you're saying here to me just screams, we need to hold this game back because this is not ready, this is not working. That's what it screams to me. But you're saying, we had problems, we could see the problems, there were more problems that we didn't even anticipate, but we released it. That's not a particularly responsible thing to do. We grew the studio. We're 4 different studios now in North America. The one in Rockville, Austin, Dallas, and Montreal. And this was a game that really took a ton of people across those 4 studios coming together to make work. Now, this and again, I'm not trying to be petty here, but this and again screams too many cooks spoil the broth. When you have 4 different studios trying to work together to try and get one game going, there is inevitably going to be massive issues. Because you really want one studio focused on the project where you have all the communication chains right there and then in the studio. But when you've got 4 different branches trying to communicate with the branches and then they're trying to get together to make the game, it just spells disaster, just from a logical standpoint. And just as a little stab, you didn't even make it work. Because it came out broken, buggy, empty. So you didn't actually even make it work. And we knew the launch was just going to be the beginning. We're really excited that the game actually did very, very well. Are you f***ing serious? Right. This game didn't do very, very well. It did terribly. And the first main pointer towards that is Fallout 76 didn't even hit the top 20 selling games of 2018. And 2018, folks, was not a great year for video games at all. When you think about it, when a Bethesda mainstay title can't even hit the top 20 selling games of that year, you know there's something wrong. You know there's something massively wrong. Could you imagine if an Elder Scrolls title didn't hit the top 20 selling games? No. When you've got Bethesda and a game, when it's a main Bethesda title, you're probably looking at it's going to be one of the top 10 selling games, if not even in the top 5. But probably one of, at least in the top 10 selling games of that year. Couldn't even hit the top 20. We also know, of course, that when it came out, it immediately went on to sale. Immediately went on to sale. And not just a small sale, heavy sale. It was pretty much 50% off. Comparative to most places. Most, games. So it should have come out at 50 quid. It was like 25 quid almost immediately. And it's never recovered. The price never, ever recovered. And you can pick it up now, 4.5 months later, for like 15 quid brand new. And pretty much anywhere. But we also know, of course, that they were giving it away. Buy a pre-owned pad, get a copy of Fallout 76. Buy a new pad, get a copy of Fallout 76. Buy a memory card, get a copy of Fallout 76. Buy a Fallout 76 bundle, get a copy of Fallout 76. And that's on top of the bundle copy. So you're giving it away. So even if you sell 2 million copies of a game, but you've sold them at half price, essentially, in essence, you've really sold 1 million copies. Let's just, not beat about the bush here. So Fallout 76 did not do very, very well. Sales were poor, couldn't even hit the top 20, and it was heavily discounted from the get-go. This game clearly did not make the money that was anticipated of this project, or anywhere close to that. We have a huge millions of players. A great player base in this game. We're getting tons of feedback. Here's another massive lie by Todd. Fallout 76 does not have millions of players. Not even close. Somebody crunched the numbers at the beginning of December, 2 or 3 weeks after the game came out, because Bethesda were claiming then that the game had millions of players. Oh, people were saying the sales are bad, sales are poor, it's heavily discounted. And then Bethesda's like, we've sold millions, thank you to all the millions of players. And then somebody crunched the numbers using the trophy system on the PS4. And they worked out that there were actually 406,000 players at that time on the PS4. And the chances are that the PS4 would have the bulk of the sales more than the PC, because it was only going out on the Bethesda launcher, not Steam. And also because the PlayStation 4 has sold, colossal amounts of units more than the Xbox. Highly likely that they also pwn the Xbox in sales. That's not a shade thing, it's just facts. So the chances were, even at the beginning of December, just 2 or 3 weeks after launch, there were even less than 1 million players playing then. So what's it going to be like now, 4.5 months later? Do you reckon it's gone up to millions? God, of course it hasn't. I would be amazed if there were 100,000 people playing Fallout 76. I'd be bloody amazed, to be perfectly honest with you. No, this game does not have millions of players at all. That is just an out-and-out lie by Todd Howard. But, you know, when you can't tell the truth, when you can't be honest, people are going to look at you and they're not going to trust you. They're not going to trust that anything you ever say is genuine. And this is a massive problem, especially when they're working on Starfield, and particularly when they're working on Elder Scrolls 6 as well. Now, I think the Elder Scrolls title is has a big enough reputation that in itself is going to aid sales, full stop. But Starfield, something new, I think people might start to get a little bit wary of when Todd's just coming out with lie after lie after lie, that we can believe anything of any worth that's really coming out. He then goes on to say, our goal is to kind of build a Fallout platform. Well, that just sounds terrible. We have tons of ideas. It's been kind of a wild journey so far, and we're excited. There's a ton of cool content coming. Why didn't it get put into the game before release? Again, right? When you want a product, you want a finished product. I'll put it this way. If you go into a gallery, you want to buy a painting. That's what you want. I'll take that painting there. You don't go into a gallery, say, can I take that empty canvas, please? Go home and then wait for the bloody artist to turn up and start painting. No. And that's what Fallout 76 is. You knew development was in trouble. You're admitting that development was in trouble, and you're admitting that it didn't come out how you wanted it to come out. And now you're saying we've got tons of things planned. These things should have been put in, and a proper, full product should have been released. It's not good enough. It's really not good enough. And Bethesda know this, and Todd knows this. It's been an incredible experience. That's one way of putting it, sweetheart. We will do anything we can to reward that. This year, next year, and the coming years, we have big things planned. Now, I'm not saying that they can't turn things around with Fallout 76. Some games have done brilliantly in turning things around. Warframe, for example. Rainbow Six Siege, for example. There's a couple of examples of companies that have stuck with a game and really turned things around. The Division, you can add to that. That came out an absolute cluster fudge as well. And they turned that around into a good, fun game. And the Division 2 is really fun, to be honest with you. So it's not out of the realms of possibility that they can do this. However, the faith that the Bethesda are showing is not good faith. Their communication has been terrible. There have been so many controversies surrounding it. Todd's coming out with more lies. And when you're just incessantly lying, you are eroding people's trust in your product. And that's all I see here. Todd opening his mouth and just coming out with shite. It was the perfect chance to eat that humble pie. It was the perfect chance to address problems that the game had and really just be open and honest about it and try and gain a little bit of credibility back. But you doubled down on the lies and you just look like a fool, Todd. And it's pretty damn sad. So yeah, Todd decides to talk about Fallout 76 and he goes down the route of a big fat liar. So I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do get a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming links. They're in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.